And joining me now to talk more about whether Black Friday is meeting retailers' expectations is David Bell, co-founder and president of Idea Farm Ventures. Welcome back to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So give us an idea about the types of deals we've seen so far and what people are really clamoring for this year.
So I think this year people are doing some really interesting things. They're doing a lot of search and discovery on the cell phone, looking at smaller items, but they're also clamoring for the typical big ticket items as well. Latest in consumer electronics, fashion items are always popular at this time of year. But what's really interesting is more of the search is being done on mobile, even if that's not keeping pace with the actual amount of dollars spent on mobile.
And what about the shoppers themselves? How have they responded so far to this year's sales? And what's your outlook?
Well, I think the outlook is really very strong. I think when we look at the numbers are about 25 to 28% up year on year. And I think what we're seeing now too is an extending of the season. So it's really starting now with Thanksgiving Day, then Black Friday, then extending through the weekend into Cyber Monday. So there's really many opportunities. So we're seeing a more evening out of the demand across all of those product categories.
Now, it's interesting because it used to be that traditionally on Black Friday, part of the excitement was you wake up early, you line up for whatever item you want, and you then make that mad dash for the store once it opened. How has the culture surrounding Black Friday changed over the years?
So I think there's two things that are really interesting that have happened. So the first thing is the search process is kind of extended forward. So even before the turkey comes out, you might be looking on your mobile phone thinking about what it is that you're going to buy. So a lot of the discovery and the searching process for items, for prices, for deals can be done online. And then when you actually venture out, as long as the weather's okay, and you get into that offline environment, things we're seeing a little calmer on average. There's still a few flare-ups here and there, but because the planning process is now more pronounced and more stretched out, I think we're seeing a more measured approach to the offline shopping itself.
Now, we know that retailers often look forward to this as their big major season, but are the stakes higher this time around for retailers, especially given what's happening overall with the industry?
Yes, I think so, because the industry, I think as we heard earlier in the hour, retail is not dead, just sort of boring or bad retail is dead. So the stakes now are much higher because you need to engage customers around two things. One is give customers a great experience. That's a reason to come, number one. And then also sort of a process of discovery. There are going to be products and services that I'm going to encounter only in that physical environment that I might not otherwise do. So those are really the two things that have been lifted in terms of table stakes if we want people to really visit those physical stores.
And what do you see as the biggest challenges to the success of these individual shopping days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is, getting customers engaged and not having them sort of wait too long or only shop on deals. So the last thing you really want as a brand is you want people just waiting for that sale and then displacing other sales in the future. Maybe a little bit different if you're a platform you're more agnostic to that. But I think the biggest challenge for the brand at this time of year is really maintaining some integrity around the brand story and the pricing integrity and not just being too discount driven.
Now, let's also compare this, of course, to China's Singles' Day results. When you look at Black Friday and Cyber Monday expectations, how different are they?
Well, I think the first thing we have to see is just the difference in terms of sheer numbers. So I think this time we saw Singles' Day in China was about 30 billion. We're hearing that, here Thanksgiving was 3.7. Black Friday's about 6.6. So, just by sheer volume, China's about 5x. And I think what's going on there is in China, shoppers, of course, bigger market for e-commerce, much more trained to sort of shop online, more mobile forward, and a much more frictionless experience when you're thinking about devices like the cell phone.
And when you look globally and you look at Black Friday, now this is tied to an American holiday, but we're seeing that online and in physical stores all around the world that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, the retailers are still offering these Black Friday deals. How does that work?
Well, I think we're living in a global world in the same way, see NFL games happening in London. I think, sort of the dissemination of American culture beyond just movies and everything else, maybe now is also extending into shopping. I think there's a few holdout places like Hong Kong, but by and by, more people are becoming more cognizant of Thanksgiving, not only as a place where you want to celebrate with your family, but also shop. And of course, retailers globally are going to jump on that opportunity to market that.
And they're certainly marketing it pretty aggressively. It seems like every 2 seconds there's an email or an alert popping up, and it can be a little bit overwhelming for consumers. So what can retailers and brands do to really stand out in this sea of deals that just bombard us this time of year?
Well, I think it's becoming increasingly difficult. I think if you're a brand in a physical space, you have to start thinking more about things that are experiential, giving people a reason to come. So it could be events that are theatrical, it could be things around food, it could be things around interesting sort of touch and feel that you can't get online. That's really the first challenge. And then I think the second challenge for brands is really just not getting lost in the noise and maybe not overplaying the hand at this time of year, reminding people that there are also other occasions in which the brand can be experienced. So if it's not really your cadence at this time of year for the holiday, I would say don't overdo it.
All right, certainly something we could, a phrase we could apply to all of the holiday season. Thanks so much.
Indeed.
David Bell, co-founder and president of Idea Farm Ventures.